Lesson 101 on Organizational Culture from a former planning officer for 9 years of the Bases Conversion and Development Authority, but had been based in Canada for almost 2 decades as an advisor of the government office in Alberta, Canada. Welcome, Ms. Manu Aspiras Castro.
Good day, everyone. Today, I am going to talk about organizational change and what we need to focus on in the midst of change and become a sought-after organization by virtue of its great culture. My discussion will be as follows. I will give a brief introduction and will attempt to define organizational culture via description. Then, I will discuss 4 different types of organizational culture based on identified classification factors. It will be followed by an example of a type of a culture and my personal experiences of navigating the changes in the culture. Lastly, I will be discussing 5 elements of a great organizational culture that we need to keep in mind as we build and establish a great culture in the midst of change. Before I proceed, I would like to greet the Philippine Sports Commission on its 30th year anniversary. 3 decades of existence speaks to the resilience of the organization and the people behind it. For PSC to exist for 3 decades, there must be something very special about the people and the culture that has shaped this organization. As you continue to evolve, let us learn more of how we can enhance our organizational culture to become the best it can be. So, what is organizational culture? Organizational culture has 2 facets. First, the structure. Second, the people. The structure refers to the organizational chart, the systems, the roles, policies, processes, and some unwritten rules and norms, among others. People, on the other hand, refers to the leadership, the management, the identity, values, beliefs, and behavior of the people. It is, in fact, the holistic personality of an organization. In effect, organizational culture is the collection of values, expectations, practices that guide and inform the actions of all team members. There are 4 types of organizational cultures that have been identified by experts, namely community, characterized by extended family, mentoring, nurturing, and participation. And this is example of this are foundations, NGOs, family businesses, religious organizations, and the like. Bureaucratic is an structure that has a rigid structure. It has controls in place. It thrives on coordination. It has efficiency and stability. An example of this type is the government offices and the monarchy, among others. For entrepreneurial, the organizational culture entrepreneurial is dynamic. It likes taking risks and values innovation. For example, the startups, the big corporations, and the explorations. These are the ones that think outside the box. And the next one, and the last one, but not the least, is a competitive organizational culture. This culture is results-oriented. It gets the job done. It values competition and achievement. Examples of this are government corporations, technological companies, auto companies, and the like. And these 4 organizational cultures are classified according to 4 factors. First, flexibility and discretion. Second, stability and control. Third, internal focus and integration. And the fourth is external focus and differentiation. So based on these four factors, the experts came up with these four types of organizational culture. But know that there is no good or bad organizational culture. Each of them have their own merits and weaknesses. For one, community looks as if it is very good. But when we get too close to each member, the members became complacent, and it impacts the efficiency and effectiveness of the organization. An example of a competitive organization is Basis Conversion Development Authority. That is where I used to work. So my experience with BCDA is that it is a competitive organization. Being a government corporation reporting directly to the Office of the President, it is very results oriented. It endeavors to get the work done and encourages competition among staff. If needed, the employees will render overtime hours to finish a task, but without the benefit of overtime pay. It is a fast-paced workplace, and there's no room for mistakes, such that the bosses, the managers, are so toxic. They become very rude, they become unreasonable. In a competitive culture, sometimes the employees, to get ahead of one another, they tend to hoard or withhold vital information that they think can get one ahead of them. So that's one of the weaknesses of a competitive organizational culture. So change, though, is the only constant. When we moved to Canada, my personal experience, oh my God, it was a total culture shock for me. So in Canada, before you get a job, they require that you have a Canadian experience, not necessarily a job in the field that you used to work for, but just any kind of job so you have a feel of what the Canadian culture is. So the shock came to me when I started working. These are the things that shocked me in their culture. First, managers, leaders, even the minister and the premier are not comfortable being called sir or boss. They want to be called by their first names. And even these leaders, managers, ministers are not afforded special treatment outside of their offices. They line up to buy their food. They line up to get in the elevators. That was such a big shock to me because I'm so used to the bosses in BCBA being, like queens and kings being served. The third is that the so-called bosses are even the first ones to greet you when they see you or they meet you. They pride themselves in knowing their staff by their first names among 3,000 or so employees. So it's a good feeling to be called your first name by your minister when you meet him. So number 4, when a staff is unable to finish their task that is due, the manager is accountable to finish it. Next thing is, even in the workplace, your priority is your family and your health. If you are scheduled to deliver a presentation or attend an important meeting, if a family or health issue arises, the staff can just leave and someone else will pick up what is left. And on due dates of assigned tasks, managers will have to consider staff availability and they have to approve vacation requests regardless. And there is no micromanaging. And there's also transparency and open communication between managers and staff. But it is done with consent. Like whatever issue you have, you are able to tell it to your manager, be it personal, be it emotional, whatever, but it has to be consensual. Information sharing information sharing is high on the list because we only have one drive to save all our works once they are done. So it is what you call this, the sharing thing is enabled because everyone can just take work that's done by another in case they have issues to attend to. They are also very good in a sense that they encourage everyone to take a break and seek advice when needed. The values that we sort of adhere to are respect, accountability, integrity, and excellence. This is adhered to by everyone. My list can go on, like it's so long. So I had that chance of being able to compare the organizational culture of my company in the Philippines and in Canada. These days, though, I believe we are living through one of the best times in history of work. Thanks to the advancement of technology and instant access to information, our generation has a greater sense of empathy, ethics, and values. And organizational cultures are changing. In the past, job seekers would be looking for a place that would pay them well and give them good benefits. Now, job seekers are looking for organizations that have great cultures, companies that needs to offer individuals a sense of belonging and a mission to accomplish something remarkable. With no culture, an organization is not sustainable in the 21st century. And with that, I have identified 5 elements that are essential to building and sustaining a great organizational culture. These elements are purpose, ownership, community, effective communication, and good leadership. Purpose is that we have a greater sense of ethics and empathy. We are less selfish, and we want to be part of solving a problem greater than ourselves. We need to understand the why of what we do. So companies now need to have a strong mission statement where they can share the why with their team. Next element is ownership. Ownership is about giving people the opportunity to be accountable for the results without being micromanaged, giving people the autonomy over their time to accomplish their goals. This will keep people engaged with a sense of purpose. Community is the third element, and it is a sense of belonging to a group of people that shares the same or similar principles, goals, and values. Community is a place where there is camaraderie. Building community is something as simple as having lunch and learns, hanging out on Fridays, and company trips. It varies from company to company though, but community is unique to each organization. The next one is effective communication. This element, effective communication, sounds like common sense, but it is not common practice. It means consistency in processes and investing time learning the personalities and communication dynamics of the team members, getting to know each other. And the fifth thing, which is the more important of the five, is, I would say, the backbone of cultural dynamics of any organization is good leadership. The leader has to be constantly pushing the mission, the standards, and the processes of the company. Without effective leadership, the other 4 elements cannot thrive. People want leadership with integrity and compassion. People want authenticity. People want a leader who is clear on expectations. People want to know they have a leader who cares about them. The elements I just mentioned are not new to people. People have always liked purpose, ownership, community, effective communication, and good leadership. It is in our human nature. But now we found words to describe these things to build high performing cultures. I would like to encourage each and every one of you to be intentional about applying these elements and building great cultures in your organization. Thank you.